Hot Corner, there has been so much going down right now in professional sports, women's sports, and today we're going to talk more softball. If you haven't been keeping up with professional softball, well, you've been missing out. We've got one of the team owners from the Florida Heat, the man himself, Ricky Bumgardner, and he's going to talk today about the launch of the PSL, the Professional Softball League, and we're going to get into it.
First off, can't say thank you enough. Big fan of the show. Follow, watch everything that you're doing, and you're doing it at a high level. So, I mean, hopefully you're getting enough credit and enough shout outs to what you're doing. And I can't wait to see, what 2026 looks like for you, because this is just having people to be so passionate about covering this game is massive. We need more eyes on it. We're getting more eyes on it. And I think that we're seeing a huge increase in people wanting to get behind this sport as well as other sports too. So as somebody that cares about the media and loves being a part of the media and growing our brand and the game as a whole, I'm very appreciative of that. So shout out to you and what you're doing for one.
Thank you so much. We're going to talk a little bit first about something we're catching up on for one sports. I'm so curious because we talked about some of the big moments of you seeing those batting gloves with Liberty, them wearing them. But I was looking into your background. And of course, you guys were in Ohio before you were in Florida. You doing finance and sales and, these Jaguar, Land Rover, Ferrari dealerships. And then to step out in faith to start your own business and to move to Florida. Tell me about the payoff you've seen, just the amount of really faith that it took to step out and do it to start.
The greatest state of all time, right? Why leave Ohio, when it's probably 12 degrees here, but luckily it's like 20 degrees here in Florida today too. So
Insane.
we had ice on the windshields this morning. So people are freaking out a little bit down here because they don't know how to act, but nothing but love from Lebanon, Ohio. Shout out to Lebanon High School. The girls won the first female Division One state championship in softball alone this year. So
Woohoo!
shout out to the Warriors, onward Lebanon. Love getting back there, and it was fun to be there for the championship. But yeah, you're right. It's not easy. That you hear these stories about, people staying in the same place forever and have that what if, right? What if I'd have done this? What if I'd have done that? And they never did. And life's very short. We're very myself is very much driven by faith. I love talking about it. I'm unashamed of it, and I love being having my circle knee deep into that. So, having the opportunity, and everyone has a story. You bring up the COVID stuff happens in COVID. You either do it or you don't do it, and that was the right time. I loved Ferrari and Lamborghini. Where you're running, multiple dealerships. You're going and being a part of, some of the best brands in the world in the, overall dealership management side. But it was time, it was time to, I've always loved Florida. I was always a Gators fan growing up. So being able to have that opportunity to get down here was, something you gotta say you did or you didn't. And to the growth that has happened from that move is it's hard to even, put it into words, but I've got to open a lot of doors, in just the softball world, especially to allow us to, to go out and, start something, right? Start something and build something from the ground up, and having faith as the backer of it is cool because you're constantly talking about it. We had a cool conversation before we went on, about, faith and when you are circled around this, the conversations tend to be a little bit more positive. The energy is a little bit more positive because, you're playing, you're working, you're paving, all for a greater purpose. I tell high school athletes all the time that we get to be around because when we get to go talk to high school athletes, it's a wide open forum to talk about faith. They expect that they know it. And I tell these kids all the time, listen, you are building a highlight reel for one day, and that one day that is going to be watched by one person. and we all know who that person is Jesus. I call him the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Um, and how do you want the highlight reel to look, right?
Mhm.
How do you want that tape to be played back? So if today you can, make a highlight that one day he's going to look at you and be like, man, like that was a good day, right? And you get to continue to do that. That's the kind of conversations we get to have. And you tie that into, some cool batting gloves and some softballs and some stuff that constantly keeps the conversation going. And I feel that being able to help be that reveal, right? Everyone has that reveal moment, and if we can just start a conversation, help somebody going through something, it's been pretty cool. So that move has definitely sparked a lot of amazing things, and it keeps going, and it gets me, to be able to sit here, on a Friday morning on this interview with you.
And it's so cool to hear you talk about because right after this meeting, I'm going to talk to some high school athletes with FCA, and we're going to talk about identity not being in your sport. And we're going to talk about how it can be used as a platform, at the biggest stage. You want to be, the best that you can be at your sport, but ultimately it is to use it as a platform for his glory. But it's like you say too, if that is your identity, well, then when you're at your high in your sport, the performance is great. That's where you're going to be. But then on the other end of that, once you hit rock bottom or you get injured or the performance isn't there, if your identity is rooted there, well, there you go. You're going to feel like you
100%.
have nothing left, right? And so I think it's so amazing to see, somebody that's been at the top of sales and business and sports and softball be able to integrate it all. And I think that's something special that I've seen specifically in your organization. So I kind of want to ask you from that
Yep.
standpoint, what makes you guys different with the Florida Heat?
Being able to be one of a very small amount of people to actively be trying to hit the go button and putting the pedal to the floor is a very unique, special, important opportunity because at the end of the day, there is only so many people that are actively putting the foot to the, putting it to the floorboard and trying to go because we were talking a little bit ago, right? You can sit there and you can talk about it or you can be about it,
Mhm.
and I'm much more the type that would rather be about it and figure it out and say that we are, surrounded by a group of people that are actively trying to make this a reality. I'm looking at athletes right now and that don't want their career to end. A lot of girls went into the draft, didn't make it. Should that mean their journey ends? Absolutely not, because there's a lot of opportunity for girls to continue to play, and there's a space for a lot of growth. And that is very much in the proof that when you look at, now the PSL is, that's a group of individuals that is trying to expand this and trying to find ways. The conversations are daily. We all speak every day, and it's what are we doing? How can we grow? How can we give opportunities? And how can we give a platform to be able to, make softball, yes, something right now, but like I'm thinking about that 10-year-old
Mhm.
that when I was a 10-year-old, emulating Ken Griffey Jr. and turning my hat around backwards. Well, we are doing something now for that 10-year-old softball player, right? That could be emulating our players, or professional athletes as a whole. So when I got the call about, expansion and what we do and how we can, give that next wing in Florida a thing, took me 3 seconds to decide, hey, yeah, because let's go. You know what I mean? Like I'm down here in softball heaven when it comes to Viera, Florida. Everybody comes to Viera, at least once to, play in some of these tournaments here. So it was an absolute no-brainer because we want to make this something that could be a clear paving ground, not just for that 10-year-old, but for that player who then wants to get into coaching, right? Why not? Why not go into the professional coaching world? Why not give these opportunities? Why not have league opportunities in marketing and sales? we are giving that platform, and we got a great group of guys and girls that are ready and going as fast as we can with it.
Small detail that I have to point out, the Ken Griffey Jr. reference, I'm a lifelong Reds fan, so just wanted to let you know that I loved that.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So I
I
loved
mean
that.
the Reds are my team, and shout out to Atlanta Smoke owner Brandon Phillips, a legend in Cincinnati, going into the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame this April. So we're
Yeah.
excited for, him, Jade, and the family to see him go into the Hall of Fame as a Red. But yeah, when we got that trade with Griffey, it didn't even, I remember that. That didn't even, I was still in high school. That didn't even make, I didn't even believe it. And so being able to be 28 miles away, heading down 71 South to what, Synergy Field at the time to see Griffey play was, it was a dream come true. So those were some cool moments. So go Reds.
Yeah. I just had to throw that in there, but I'll get back to,
How cool would
your
it? I think it'd be cool to take the Florida Heat up to Cincinnati and have the Atlanta Smoke and the Florida Heat play at Great American Ballpark. Let's get some pro softball at GABP. I think we can get some softball people in Ohio on board for that.
Absolutely. Let's literally send the emails right now. We'll tag them in this. We'll
Tag
mark it.
them.
We'll pitch them. I mean, we've seen the um, home run derby X that they've done. Well,
Yeah.
why not? Let's extend it. Let's send some of the PSL. We'll put players up on the platforms and we'll show Cincinnati how it's done.
We already got Reds colors on the Heat uniform, so like we can keep the color scheme stays the same, like
Right.
I'm on board. Like I'll clear the schedule's cleared. I just made it clear.
Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So earlier, of course, we were talking about the PSL,
Yeah.
the growth of softball in Florida. And we talked about also the fact that, there's such a gap with the
Yeah.
talent versus the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So there's a huge talent pool right now in softball, and it's only getting
Yeah.
better. And you look at the AUSL draft that we touched on a little bit, some of the All-Americans, greater players in the game, they went into the draft and they were left without a contract. I look at one of my friends, of course, I'm going to bring her up because she's one of my favorite players. Corey McMillan led
Hmm.
led the nation last year in home runs in NCAA. And then you look at her, she doesn't get a part of the Bandits again this next season. So you have players like her and players that we're going to talk about a little bit later, these power four girls that are phenomenal athletes can contribute so much to the game, should continue their career. And if there's only that one option, well, they're left with no place to go. So when I'm looking at it as well, of course, last episode we talked about the AUSL and the cities that they were going to be in. Well, one of those gaps were Florida. So I want to ask you a little bit as they expanded. There were a lot of comments in the section of where are our teams? We're waiting for pro softball in Florida. What is your message to the people of Florida now, finding out that the PSL not only has representation, but they're going to bring you three teams to watch? What's your message to the people of Florida?
Yeah, you couldn't be any more right about the talent pool out there. No matter if you're playing in AU or you're in the PSL, the talent is must-watch television. So that's why the growth to me is so important. That's why, with the PSL specifically, we are, already having conversations about where else, right? What do the people want? What can we offer to be able to grow? And hey, I'll tell you this, I've seen some of the comments for AU and the cities that they announce, and hey, for one, the cities that got announced. Go watch, go be there, go support. This is a big deal. They've got some amazing athletes, amazing talent. There's a lot of great stuff, and it's hard. I mean, you can't have 50, teams in 50 states. I mean, that's something that's probably not going to happen. But people also got to remember, Major League Baseball has been around a long time,
Mhm.
right? There wasn't this many teams in Major League Baseball when this first started, so enough fans. enough support, enough corporate sponsors, enough people that want to get behind this can actually make this go a lot quicker because, again, there is too much talent. Right now, there is enough talent out here that you could just carry your college teams into pro team. Power four could go play. You could extend that arm because we can make that a reality. I'm excited for that reality. And in Florida, hey, there's three teams in Florida, correct? So we are very excited. And we're, when you look at, East Coast, West Coast, right? We're right there. So you got, no matter what, you're going to be a drive away in Florida. I mean, that's 6 hours up and down the state. Um, so the talent that we're already starting to see that is coming to Florida is something that people are going to get excited about. It's not hard to see, Jersey right now, for the Florida Heat, in the shows she's putting on, striking out all these baseball players left and right. Like there, I am now convinced I'm never even going to attempt to step in the box with her because I'd like to keep my reputation intact. So, the we are driving fans and the how do we bring that together, right? Because we want to be a organization, especially with the Heat, that is going to be, going to Little League events, going to, some camps that are low budget camps to get everybody involved, right? We want to start to tell those stories with the girls so, they can also, build their brand too, right? We love to watch the growth of them. And, you look at like a Bianca Cruz, who pitched at Florida State, and she's going to be playing in her backyard. She went to Space Coast High School, which is 20 minutes down the road from me, and she's going to get to come home and having her replica jersey out there for sale soon to be able to then, that has spun off into now, working with her, first ever sunglass line. Like to be able to have her own sunglasses because everyone ties Bianca to her sunglasses, and this is massive that we have this many athletes that are, also storytellers and love softball and want to stay in softball and being in Florida. And there's a lot of cool stuff that, we're able to bring. So even though they didn't get a team in Florida, that's okay. There's pro softball in Florida. Um, will that change? Will that grow? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, can it? Of course it can, but the opportunities are endless, and that's what we're very excited about.
And you touched on it, but so much talent. I mean, you mentioned Jersey, you mentioned Bianca. You guys also have Megan Hauk from Bryant coming on,
Yep.
Marshall Ketcher, Reagan Glands, and a couple more, Marissa Trivelpiece,
Yep.
USF. So it looks like right now you've got a couple pitchers, you've got
Yep.
a lefty middle infielder, you've got a catcher. Where right now for you do you feel like you're still trying to fill, and have those just not been announced yet,
So
or are you still
yes,
looking?
yes, correct. Yes, and we are. Our roster, we're hovering probably around that 14 number is probably a good situation because what I've learned too is we have a lot of these pitchers too, multi-position athletes. I like versatility. I like somebody who, doesn't want to just pitch, who wants to get out there and hit a two-run homer in the seventh, win a ball game, for their pitcher. So we we're looking at it twofold. We're still looking at, what is available now as well as what's coming out into, who's entering their senior year. And that's a tough line too, because you can't have those interaction with college players, because of NCAA, and we don't want to stir that pot. That's not good. So there's this window that we still have that we are looking at players currently. Our player interest form is now really starting to explode, at the PSL website, which is great because we're seeing that. So I get contacted probably daily, multiple times a day. So my DMs on Instagram are absolutely jam-packed. So it's just getting back to them, and that we want to make sure no matter what, I get back to everybody, period. So you can tell that there's a want for it, there's a need for it, and it's going to take, for us, getting the right partners on board also from a corporate level is so important. That's what a lot of people don't understand is it takes so much corporate revenue and people to get behind us to be able to make a lot of this stuff a reality. So player wise, we're still wrapping up some stuff we have not put out there yet, which is exciting for us and already excited for the girls and their family. And then, there's going to be, I'm sure, some girls coming out of college as well, that are ready to make an immediate impact. But I mean, there's enough. I hate to put it out there, but you could probably have 30, 40 pro teams right now. That's how much talent's out there.
Yeah, and especially, it's not just the Heat. We're looking at the KC Diamonds, Chattanooga Chill, Florida Vibe, Florida Heat, Florida Breeze, Atlanta Smoke, New York Rise. There's 7 teams just in your guys' league. And when
Correct.
I'm looking at recent sign-ons,
Yeah,
Missouri is represented, Baylor, Cal, UVA, Bama. I mean, it's not something to blink at. This is a ton of talent coming into the league. And you talked
yeah,
about, corporate sponsors, and a huge thing for me that stands out is also having support from, let's say, baseball. So the KC Monarchs, they're going to be playing at Legends Field, correct?
correct.
In Kansas City. So you've or the KC Diamonds are going to be playing at the
Yeah,
KC Monarchs
correct.
field, and that's Legends Field. And when you look at that with the partnership of softball and baseball, a lot of that community and the following, softball's got its own community, but a
They
lot of
do.
the fans too, like you need that support. So where do you
Yeah.
see um, baseball in major and minor leagues really coming to help support you guys?
Well, I think everything comes down to business. Is just say it like it is, right? And when a stadium's empty, there's a need for it, and I think softball comes into that area to where you're going to continue to get people coming through your stadium because the stadium owners still want people to come in and see, you know. Their team and what they've got going on, and again, no one likes an empty venue. So having softball, because you think about softball in Major League Baseball and college sports, we can get this going year round. This meaning one season ends, another one's getting kicked off, and so on and so on and so on. You can see in the Mexico League how, the softball girls, which by the way, shout out to that league, they're doing an incredible job in Mexico. Um, they're on baseball fields. They've got it set up for that, and you can easily, work with some teams that are going to go on that 10-day road stretch and get 3 games in there. And think about that, right? That gets people in your stadium, right? And that sees what's going on. And I think there is a want for that. For me, we'll go play anywhere. I'd love to go to Iowa and play a 3-game series, at Field of Dreams, for instance, in the cornfields, or, a 3-game series, in the swamp. And I'm very flexible too to want to go to where people are as well, because there could be, it might be tough for someone in Gainesville to drive down, although it's 2 hours. But, if we go up there and could do a 2-game series in Gainesville or go down to, one of my favorite places is Florida Atlantic. Love Shannon Doherty down there. That's one of my pals. And, but go, move around too. Like we're very open to take softball to people. A lot of our home games, we're surrounded when there's major travel tournaments in town, coming down here to the Space Coast Complex because we want to be playing where softball is on fire, people are coming to, and hey, if we can be that extra attraction, to me, that's a no-brainer because why not? These young girls who are already playing, 4 or 5 games down here in Vieira, why not come watch some pro softball? Why not meet, see what Jersey's doing, or when Brandon comes into town with the Atlanta Smoke, right? And sees these athletes. So like I'm flexible. We go to Great American Ballpark, for example, and go play at a Red Stadium, like we're on board to be making sure that we get softball in front of people. That's what I'm big, and that's what I love about the PSL. I have flexibility. I don't have to go ask, right? That's the cool part is every team is independently owned and they get to go, right, and move the way that they want to do, some games. And I love that because independently owned teams all are still coming together, right? But still have their own decisions that they can make. And that's when some stuff can get really cool with some collaborations.
And when it comes to bringing the game to people, you know, there might not be a stadium close to them, but a huge thing, of course, is everyone's got a phone, everyone's got a TV. So when it comes to sustaining this league long term, what do you think that you need to see from, let's say, a social media and a broadcast perspective to
Absolutely.
really let things
Gotta
take
have
off?
views. Gotta have views. Gotta people gotta see it. You know, if nobody can watch it, how is that going to grow? Me and you can speak intelligently on this because how's those ratings looking for the College World Series for women? Pretty strong,
Insane. Very
right?
strong.
Pretty strong. Kids want to watch softball, right? I just had a family I just met with, and got some, of our newest neon colored batting gloves, and they're literally 5 minutes down the road here, at the S30, the Select 30 for USSSA, and it's freezing. She was in Under Armour gear, like freezing, getting ready to go play softball, like so. Kids want to be a part of it when we went to with the when I was got to go up there with the Vibe when they played the Gators in the fall. Great crowd for fall softball, right? So that's another thing about coming to them because like in the fall for us, I'd love to be going and playing some colleges in their fall schedule, just like, going to the Vibe went to Florida and Georgia. Packed houses, some cool camps went down, some great, old school, bringing some softball legends and icons back there, with Michelle Smith Wiggins, Mosley coming back into town. Like there's Nicole Barber, like all of them. Like that was such a cool throwback and saying, hey, you guys are the true pioneers of this. So let's suit up one more time. And I'm telling you, it was some of the most special events that I've been a part of in softball. And shout out to Ryan and the Vibe and the Gators in Georgia for, making that a reality in the fall.
And you mentioned that that was one of your favorite moments. But when it comes to you, starting to love softball and having people that you have followed since they pioneered it, are there any special stories or moments that you have had with players that you can think of? Some of your favorite moments?
Some of my favorite moments is watching them and what they do on TV and knowing them as a person, which is cool, in the relationships, watching, Odyssey Alexander, anyone that knows me knows that I love Odyssey and her journey. And we've hosted some cool camps together. And, now watching her, pitch while being pregnant. Like, I literally just talked to her the other day. It's like, this is nuts. Like, just watching this journey, for her has been incredible. And watching and being close with Jesse Warren. Jesse Warren was an infield coach for my young one back in the day, and she wore Jesse Warren's glove all the time. And Shannon Doherty, like in helping her develop the clutch brand, with the cross and the T, right, and being able to work with some of these athletes to build a brand for them and do something that realistically most companies wouldn't go out and do because they don't see an immediate financial kick. So going to UCF and seeing clutch shirts that are about Shannon Doherty, right? And, Odyssey shirts, the Own It, and now Bianca Cruz, getting some sunglasses and helping them truly launch something that they would have never dreamed about in high school or junior high or whatever has been really cool. And these girls are still playing. And that's what's awesome is there's a way for them to all still keep playing. We would go to the Pride games, and I always happen to buy jerseys. Oh my goodness, Odyssey jerseys, Jesse Warren jerseys, Haley Cruz jerseys. Like it was, I felt like I was in the clubhouse staff, and I just had the whole uniforms. But that's where we're at, and the excitement's there, and you want to feed the excitement. That's the thing. We have to feed the excitement, and it takes corporate partners, it takes parents, it takes fans, it takes everybody that can really want to work together and collab to make this go bigger and quicker. But you got to be able to put the game first. That's the big thing. If we're really trying to do this, then we need to get very creative in how we make this about the pro athletes. If we make this about the pro athletes, it can go anywhere.
And just even two that you mentioned, like the reach that they've had, Jessie Warren, the iconic clip of her diving
Oh,
play
double
at
play.
third base, that double play, to say that your daughter has been coached infield by her, I mean, that's
Hmm.
iconic in itself. And then to look at Odyssey Alexander, people didn't realize what it really looked like to be a professional female athlete and what having kids and families looked like. And then everyone finds out, you know what, she was bawling out pregnant. Just hearing stories, about
Correct.
like how her teammates for the longest time didn't even know, and she's just striking people out left and right. And all of a sudden she's like, yeah, well, I am pregnant, but you know what? Let's go win some games. It's just
Anytime I get to
insane.
brag on Odyssey Alexander, I'm gonna brag on her, whether there's a camera on or there's a camera off, because her engagement with young athletes is some of the coolest thing I have ever seen. Her love for softball, and you got to go back and look at her story and the little concrete wall that was built for her, that what she threw in, and you know up until that game there wasn't much talk about. Obviously nothing's changed about who she is as a person. And it took that game, right, to literally change her life. And that's what I love about softball. That's what I love about sports. It
Mhm.
takes one game, one performance to change your life. And what you do with that is the big responsibility. And she has worn this game on her shoulders, and how she interacts with the youth. I mean, everybody, whenever she does lessons, it should be filled within 5 minutes, because you're getting more than just a great professional pitcher. You're getting somebody that genuinely loves and checks in and makes that hour remarkable. We did a camp with her back in Ohio. This was kind of right after. It was her and Jesse Warren, and we got over 150 kids in 3 sessions, and autograph signing that they were doing. They spoke at a signing night for a travel team. They literally were doing stuff that I'm so blessed to be a part of and to watch them still play. Jesse Warren and Odyssey could probably play for another 20 years if they wanted to. Jesse Warren, I mean, she just hits. She still hits, right? And the pitching gets faster, and she just whoop, like it's nothing. So it shows you how great of athletes they are. So a lot of amazing stuff from them.
And there's so much crossover, with your connections, the AUSL. Long term, is it your goal for there to be one league, or is that even something that you guys have kind of thrown around?
Never been discussed. I know the fans have. I know the fans think that one league would be cool, but hey, you never know, right? The NFL, right, was two leagues before it became something. So, um, no, you can never say never in this
Right.
game. I think the fans clearly, and the Facebook comments and the TikTok comments sure think it would be cool. But the nice part is that there is room right now for two leagues.
Mhm.
Two different visions, two different, as long as the goals are about that bright yellow ball, and the athletes, and paving a way, because I want us to be able to afford an opportunity for players that this is what they do, and not have to worry about doing those 8 a.m. lessons. And if we get the right corporate partners involved, that's a reality, and this can be something extremely exciting. But you never know. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's it, being independently owned and making my own decisions is kind of nice,
Mhm.
right? As a business owner myself, you want to do what you feel is the best for the program, and you never know. I don't know. It's everyone has their own opinions on that. So I think the PSL is going to continue to grow. There's interest, in other cities. That's an interest, and we would be fools not to sit here and say, hey, if we can get, more people and behind this and it can grow. Hey, we're worrying about us. We're worrying about the PSL, and we're about the 2026 season. And I just want softball to grow as a whole, not just in America, but in Mexico and Italy and China and Japan, everywhere. I just want it to grow as a whole.
And I think that's such a great message to softball fans everywhere because if you have recently, because of the growth, just become a softball fan, you might be looking at it as this is a really popular sport, right? We need to have this league, we need to do this and that. But people have to realize that one's been established for 2 years. This is the first year of the PSL being all together. And
Correct.
now, this is where we start. And I think it's so easy for fans to be just in love with softball as they might be football or basketball. So they want softball right now to be there. But it's like, guys, it takes time, it takes support, it takes resources. And it's a different sport. It might look differently, but I think because people, like you say, are so bought in and passionate right now,
Yeah.
it's like, guys, you have to know where we are in the growth. It hasn't
Yeah.
always looked like this.
Well,
Um,
we're a right now world,
yeah.
right? Now we went instant gratification, getting clicks is tough anymore. How can you engage people in videos and everybody, has more everyone's more engaged for, those shorter right now moments, and the time of letting stuff cook and bake and is very difficult. Like, I get it, it's hard. But again, yeah, the vibe has been around for years. The smoke is very established too. So, being able to bring us together in a league of independent owners is quite an accomplishment, because that's a lot of opinions. That's different than what, other leagues are like, to where you got to get a lot of people to say yes, right? So that's not the easiest thing, and we're very blessed that we have a lot of us who are all, like-minded. The ball's first, right? We're thinking about that. We're thinking about the athletes. How do we, platform and boost them? Because my ultimate goal, and I tell this to every player that I get on the phone with, you get on the phone with me and we're talking PSL. My goal is for the PSL to be something for you to pave the rest of your life. Like, that's what I want. I want that opportunity to be a launch pad to where when the game is done, then you have an opportunity. Do I want to go into coaching here? Does that open the door for coaching there? Or do I want to go into sales, or do I want to go into, being a GM, or whatever company you want to go to? I want this to be that platform for them to change their life. And those are the conversations that I talk to, because I look at girls that are on us. They have the ability to go get corporate sponsors for themselves, and they get 70%. It's a 70-30 split to them, and that's psychotic stuff right there. But hey, I feel like if you go change your life, then and have the game of your career, and a major company wants to buy into you, you deserve that. You earned that. And I'm very big on those life-changing moments to financially change your lives as well.
And that's almost unheard of, but like you
It
said,
is unheard of.
completely life-changing. And having that be your mission is so huge, especially when you're thinking about what it's going to take, after you get out of a professional career to keep that life going, what's going to drive you. And when I think about, what makes you guys special, I think about, some of your background with the finance and the sales, and you're also driven by your faith, and
Right.
you're a girl dad, and you've been a coach, and you've been a player. Like, you have all of these different perspectives almost on,
Mhm.
you're a sports fan, you get the fans, but you also
Yeah,
know what realistically you need to do from a business perspective, and then you also know how to treat people. So
correct.
I think that unique perspective that you're able to bring all of those different things, it makes it pretty cool to think that you're on top.
Every conversation I have, and we've got a sales team on board now, which the sales team is going, to work with partners and relationships and businesses that want to get behind and support, not just the Heat, but the athletes more importantly. And that's the conversation. Number one is, how can we drive that to salary pay? Like, and we will be, and I can promise you, and I'm pretty sure I'm the highest. We are the highest percentage corporate dollar payout to salaries of any sport in the world. And we get corporate sponsors behind us, we are going to change the lives of our athletes. And that, to me, is going to be the most rewarding thing that we could do.
Well, and I'll be honest, I've heard the chatter from athletes, asking them, where are you going to go? Are you going to return? A lot of that, them talking to other players as well, like, hey guys, we're really taken care of. Like, we feel
Mhm.
like we're invested in, we feel like the pay is better than it probably could be anywhere else at this point. Like, this is something that could really grow, and that's coming from
Yeah.
athletes. And that,
Yeah.
of course, over time has been such an issue with the the WNBA and the
Oh,
WPF and like those just issues that were arising from the athletes feeling like, they were at a disadvantage or, hearing from your guys' own athletes that they're trying to recruit people in because they feel taken care of, that has to mean a
yeah.
lot to you.
It does because at the end of the day for us, we are only on this life for a very short time, so it's what you get to do with it while you're here. And if we can make stuff extremely fair, and I'm just speaking on behalf of the Florida Heat, if we can make stuff extremely fair, exciting, and more of an unlimited opportunity for athletes, it's going to get them more excited to, learn this side of the business because that's the big thing. We're bringing some interns on as well, some, top level colleges that want to be a part of this, and I want to teach them the game. I want to teach them the stuff that I was taught, 20 years ago. So being able to help them as well and working with some high schools around here with some Bright Futures hours for kids, to go towards their college. We want to teach people this part of the game, and we want to get, our players to be rewarded for it. And that is the number one mission. It's the number one thing I talk about when we get into these sales meetings. I'm driving it in of what can we do to make sure that these girls long term are taken care of. And I'm telling you, it's the model's there. So getting some people, getting the right partners to want to, you know, change the game. It's available.
So if you're a parent listening, just know that long term they're thinking of your daughters. And if you're a player listening, know that a lot of these athletes have had raving reviews and they're looking to grow. And if you're somebody that's just a sports fan, will know that this league is expanding and they're coming to cities near you. The Kansas City Diamonds, Chattanooga Chill, Florida Vibe, Florida Heat, Florida Breeze, Atlanta Smoke, New York Rise. You can be looking at all of these locations for the PSL to be near you. And I know that the schedule hasn't officially dropped, but can
Yep.
we get the first game location?
I can tell you that if you look around that June 12th-ish range, maybe if you're in Seminole County in Florida, there might be a few teams that are going to all be in the same spot playing a little softball.
Okay, well, if you didn't hear that, play that back right around that June 12th, few days around it, maybe Seminole County, Florida. Just keep your eyes open. Follow the PSL. Make sure that you are getting all of the latest announcements and news, and I'll be sharing it on the Hot Corner page as well. And also, if you didn't hear earlier in the podcast, we talked about 4-1 Sports. If you haven't seen the batting gloves, check them out. They go pretty hard.
These just came out.
Here they are, the bright pink and their hot corner
Those are hot corner
colors.
colors,
So,
right?
yeah, we've got
Yeah.
to get behind those. This has been amazing with Ricky Bumgardner Jr. We found out that we're both Cincinnati fans. He's a girl dad. He owns the Florida Heat, and he is campaigning for women's sports everywhere. So, it has been so nice having you on. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Can't say thank you enough. Been a great time. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep growing the game. Keep getting athletes, coaches on here, and just keep having just so much fun with this because you're doing an awesome job.
Thank you so much.